What is up? The Leafs Convo podcast is live on StreamYard, YouTube, and soon to be everywhere else. Norman, London, Ontario. Mike in Buffalo, New York. The Maple Leafs winners of 4 of 5, a 3-1 victor over the Jets in Winnipeg. 49 points atop the Scotia North Division. All is well again, Mike. Hallelujah.
Yeah, well, I mean, I don't know if anybody was really panicked about the way the team has been playing. I mean, the loss to Edmonton, I think, can be attributed to Michael Hutchinson having that play. But I think the one thing that's very good about the last two games is that you see this team sort of playing a playoff style hockey, more defensive minded, more checking minded, and it worked against Edmonton in the sense that they only scored 2 goals and got a point out of that game. And in this game, they get up 2-0. They basically, I think then shut things down. They didn't allow Winnipeg really to build any momentum. They got the shorthanded goal by Kerfoot to make it 3-0, and then that Winnipeg responded. But it was never any part of that game where they weren't in control. And I think that's a good sign for the playoff aspirations of the Maple Leafs.
Yeah, a playoff style win when the team needs to start thinking of the playoffs. 20 plus games from the second season, but the team is headed for the postseason, and it needs to configure a game plan and a game style that is conducive to success in the playoffs. That was a lot of fun. Winnipeg didn't help itself, and in turn helped the Leafs' cause by going 0 for 5 on the power play. Or sorry, rather 1 for 4 on the power play. I made a mistake there. The Leafs 0 for 5. We can get into their power play difficulty here in a couple of minutes. But yeah, being up 2-0 and then being able to lock it down, that's a psychological win for the team because they got the victory. But that comes part and parcel with having a goaltender who buys into that moment, right? Being up, knowing that the team's in a position of advantage. Let's keep it this way.
Yeah, the one thing, and we'll talk about his health later on, but the one thing that I like about Jack Campbell is he's very efficient. He doesn't create more work for himself. He's very good on rebounds. There were a couple instances where there were players on the doorstep in front of the Leafs net when a point shot or a shot from the slot came in. And if he gives up even the slightest rebound, it's going to be in the net. And he smothers the puck. He just takes it in, doesn't give up anything, and the play gets whistled down. And that's that is a great trait. Now, Freddie Anderson at times does that well, but then I think when you see him sort of get tired, he gives up bigger rebounds, and those second opportunities are killers for teams. So I have to say, Campbell 7-0, and he's been really good and really effective, I think, in 6 of those 7 games. So it's not a record that is misrepresentative of how good he has played.
Yeah, he looked big. He was fleet of foot, and you can tell the confidence is growing. I tweeted once last night. I said, it seems like Jack Campbell doesn't want to let anything in. And then Josh Morrissey scored, and I got called out for it. Big deal. The point is, 1 goal against when you're scoring more than the opposition is good enough for the goaltender. And not only does this team rally around Jack Campbell because he's a great guy, and that's legendary across the league and all of the different leagues that Jack's played in. Also, too, here's a guy who's had his career disrupted on many occasions because of injury, including this season. But now he's here. Freddie Anderson's on the shelf. This is his time to shine. So all of the components seem right for a real amazing story with a guy like Campbell potentially leading this team to the playoff doorstep and then beyond. But not only having the confidence in your goaltender, but having a confident goaltender goes a long way, especially with a group that's built so well from the net out. You you solidify the net and then, all bets are off. I mean, clearly there's some things that this team needs to work on, like the power play, like its physical play. But when you have a goaltender like Campbell that the team is excited to play in front of, especially in this moment right now, Mike, it's exciting.
Well, and I think everybody knows the backstory, but you have to say, I mean, the Campbell story is something that I think draws fans because remember, he was an 11th overall pick. I think it was 2010. He was the goalie for the U.S. In the World Junior, the one in where was it? It was in Canada. It was the John Carlson winning goal for the U.S. versus Canada, and he was expected to be the Stars' #1 goaltender in a few years, and it just didn't happen there. And then he bounced around from ECHL to AHL, and he found his way with the LA Kings and worked with Bill Ranford, and basically found a second chapter in his career, and then obviously traded to the Leafs. I don't know whether it's going to lead to him being the starter down the line. I think his health is going to determine that, but I do think that the Leafs, after Garrett Sparks and McElhaney and Hutchinson, they have found themselves a goaltender who, at least in a backup role, they can depend on. But if he can stay healthy, and what he said yesterday is after the game was, he felt good, and it's something that they have to manage. And the thing is, with the schedule as packed as it is,
can't play every game.
You can't play every game, even if there is a day in between. So, they're either going to need Michael Hutchinson to play better or Freddie Anderson to come back. And we don't know what the status of Anderson is. We're going to probably find out, either today or tomorrow, because Sheldon Keefe said that Anderson was going to see another specialist in Toronto, and they would have more information about what's going on. It doesn't sound like they're worried it's going to be a season-ending injury, but the thing that I'm suspicious of, Norm, and this is always my conspiratorial mind, why would they tell us if they're going to go out and go for a goaltender, the price immediately goes up if all of a sudden Anderson is out for the year or Anderson is out for a long term, because the Leafs' desperation for finding a goalie will probably go up. So right now they're keeping everything shrouded in secrecy. Maybe they have, it's possible they have something lined up to make a trade for a goalie, and they won't reveal Anderson's status until after that happens. So who knows?
This is the Leafs Convo podcast on StreamYard, YouTube, and soon to be on every podcast platform out there. We are presented by Oak Ridge Ford. I'm Norm. He's Mike. So the alternate name for the podcast, is it Conspiratorial Minds or Russian Sources?
Neither.
K-Dog, Campbell has been incredible. Can we trade Freddie now? I'm no longer confident in his play. See, that's the problem.
Yes.
That's the problem right there. K-Dog, we love you. Thank you very much for being here. But that's the problem. Jack Campbell's a shiny new object.
Right.
We're excited about it. And he's helping to carry the play for the Maple Leafs, and they're doing well. Freddie's injured, but we wish him well. And the Maple Leafs need a healthy Freddie Anderson. They need a healthy Jack Campbell. They need a healthy Michael Hutchinson who's confident in playing a game and minding the net when the team needs it. This isn't about pitting one guy against the next, because you're going to need both of these players confident and capable to go all the way. It's not Campbell physically will not be able to handle it. Freddie Anderson, when he's healthy, physically seems like he can, but mentally has shown issues in being fully locked in for an extended period of time. Never mind one over the other. For the collective, they need a collective in terms of the battery between the pipes. So the seasons to come, the off seasons to come, decisions to be made down the line will happen. But for now, never mind moving one guy out for the next.
Yeah,
you need the tandem ready to go at full force. And if it's Freddie watching until Campbell shits the bed, so be it. One over the other right now is just not going to work.
Well, I mean, first of all, just talk the reality of what K-Dog said. Freddie Anderson has no trade value because he's hurt. And, yes, there are going to be teams out there before the deadline who are going to be looking for goaltending. One of them is Toronto. So, you're not going to trade them. And right now, in a weird way, if he comes back 100%, this could be the best thing for Freddie Anderson, because we've always talked about the fact that he has been gassed when it comes to playoffs after playing 66 and 66 and 60 games, and he seems to run out of gas because those Leaf teams were giving up 35 to 40 shots a night.
Is this, Mike? Just real quick, I'll let you finish. Yeah. Is this potentially a benefit right now? Freddie is injured. He's resting mentally. He's resting spiritually. Jack Campbell has the net, has this team. When Freddie comes back and he's healthy, these two guys can offset each other, and the team should feel pretty confident about what they have in net. If they have two healthy goaltenders competing not only against each other, but competing for this team.
Now, the concern is what type of injury it is.
Yeah.
You remember the J.S. Jaguar situation with the Leafs. It was groin issues. It was always like, one game he's great, one game he's bad. Then you find out he has a groin problem. We don't know what exactly the issue.
I'm still haunted by it. Those J.S. Jaguar days have taken a toll on my life.
Well, I mean, here's something that'll haunt you, because we don't know what Anderson's status is. Let's say that Anderson is, could be out another month. And with rest, maybe he gets back to 90-95%. But it's something that only like off-season surgery is going to correct. He can play through it, but obviously we've seen that him playing through it, you're not getting the best Freddie Anderson out there. If the Leafs decide that they're going to go out and trade for a goaltender, a rental goalie at the deadline, there are a couple, what I would say are pretty decent options, but they will cost. One is Devin Dubnyk in San Jose, because San Jose is not a playoff team, and he's had playoff experience, but he's not been the Devin Dubnyk that played in Minnesota for a couple years, the really good Devin Dubnyk. Another option is Linus Ullmark in Buffalo. He's a UFA, and everything is for sale in Buffalo, depending on what you're willing to pay. But he's 27 years old, but he's obviously not had any playoff experience at all. But if you need a goaltender who's capable, I think he would be a good exception. And then you have the trio of ex-Leafs that will will give every Leaf fan a stroke if they see him in blue and white again. Maybe two of them. Aaron Dell, he's an extra piece in New Jersey. They had confidence to sign him. Maybe they go out and get him again. But Jonathan Bernier is one of the guys that is being talked about in the trade market before the deadline, and the other one is James Reimer.
So potentially it's Jack Campbell and James Reimer as the backstop duo for a Stanley Cup winner.
Right. Forget your Stanley Cup aspirations if they trade for Optimus Rhyme. All you're going to do is you're going to have 4-1 flashbacks every time you see and he can't wear 34 anymore because somebody else who's a better player is wearing 34 now.
Yeah. What have you done for me lately? Freddie Anderson hasn't done a lot. Jack Campbell is there. If Campbell gets injured and Anderson's injured and Michael Hutchins has to go in the net, I mean, this team can be built to win from the blue line out. The aspirations go down the toilet. You have to have one bona fide, fully ready to rock Marty Brodeur / Patrick Wass, Dominic Hasek style goaltender. And since we don't, you need a tandem.
You're right. You're not going to find a goalie as good as 100% Freddie on the trade at the trade deadline. The best you're going to be able to do is probably, as you said, get a tandem, get somebody who can down the stretch play with Campbell, one game off, one game on. But then in the playoffs, usually you go with one goalie. Yeah. Very, very rarely have I seen a team alternate goaltenders. Mm-hmm. I mean, the last team that won a Stanley Cup that did that was Carolina in 2006 when they rotated in a way Gerber and Cam Ward. Obviously there are teams out there that have had goalie injuries, like last year Dallas with Khudobin and Bishop. But in the end, Khudobin played every game, and he played dinged up too. So at a certain point, if the goaltending, if they don't address it via trade, it's probably going to have to be Campbell, and he's just going to have to fight through it, or Anderson, and he's going to have to fight through it.
The best thing for this team is for Campbell to stay healthy and Anderson to come back healthy, ready to go, and have these two duke it out. The benefit will fall squarely in front of the team. And if this team's good now, you just wait to see what kinds of things it can produce and achieve with full confidence in a pair of goaltenders who both have the capability to be the number one. Mike in Buffalo, Norm in London. Follow my Facebook page, guys, Norm at Oak Ridge Ford, and read Mike's amazing work at hockeybuzz.com. We'll do another 10 minutes here, 15 minutes. We'll wrap it up with a little bit of baseball talk. Chris in the comments, hey, it's opening day. Go Blue Jays. Akinzeki from Cyprus, I believe, wants to know who will be a new Leaf or Leafs after the trade deadline. Real quick, Mike, because we've talked about it. It's not like there's a lot of shit out there to wade through.
But the picture has changed slightly over the last few days in the sense that Nashville has won, I think, 8 of their last 9 games. They're tied for 4th place in the Central.
So Granlund's not an option.
So, I mean, I
stop the tattoo I have being
into
my lower back.
I would seriously doubt that David Poile, with the team playing as well as they are right now, would be selling Ekholm or selling his rentals because they're in a playoff race. Unless it doesn't add up now. And I heard Hal Gill, the former Leaf, on Hockey Central yesterday, and he was talking about how Granlund was one of their more consistent players. So if that's the case and they're making a playoff run, then they're not going to trade him. And I think that's good news for the Leafs because I don't think that he's a good fit. Now, on the other side, Columbus is a few points behind them, and the trend for them is not going in the direction that I think they want in terms of playoffs. And maybe that makes Nick Foligno available, but you're going to have to pay a heavy price for Nick Foligno. And this is the thing. Okay, I don't usually make judgments after 4 or 5 games on a player, but I think the need for a winger, as we've been talking about the last 6 weeks, is significantly decreased with the play of Alex Galchenyuk.
Yeah.
He's played great, and now he's motivated. He's playing for his NHL life. I think everybody knows that. He's playing really well with Tavares and Nylander. I think that the needs of this team right now are a depth defenseman, because God forbid Dermott or Bogosian get hurt or somebody gets hurt, then automatically that's Marinson or inexperienced Rasmus Sandin in the lineup. And obviously the goaltending situation maybe needs to be addressed. So if I think that they can survive an injury, and they have reserves in the minors in Nick Robertson or Joey Anderson, that they can survive an injury up front and have the depth. But I don't think the depth is there at goal or at defense.
If a Galchenyuk was on the market and the Leafs were looking for someone like a Galchenyuk to fill a Galchenyuk-like type role, and he was acquired, then we would say, hey, he has the potential to fit in with guys like Tavares and Nylander and upgrade the team while keeping his career alive. And he's here. He's doing that. Simmons, Thornton, Bogosian, these veteran guys with something to prove. They're all here too. What does a splashy move up front or on the defensive end of things mean if the goaltending situation is volatile and spotty at best? And that's what Kyle Dubas has to be aware of and cautious of, not doing anything too ridiculous to strengthen areas that are already pretty strong when the core component of any successful team is suffering due to injury and instability. Just checking out some of the comments here, and it's great because it is a Thursday morning. we may be going into lockdown here in Ontario, so everybody's trying to get things done, or they're at work and packing stuff up for a little bit. Just one thing I want to point out: when we brought up Reimer, we all love James Reimer. Remember that song? It's Reimer, and Ron Wilson and the whole
Optimus Rhyme.
Yeah, we like Reimer. We were using him as an example of one of these retread Leaf goaltenders, or even just some tertiary third string goalie coming in to back up Jack Campbell, who may or may not make it through a game. It's just that doesn't project a lot of confidence from the team, and it doesn't conjure up a lot of confidence among the fan base. So it's nothing against James Reimer. It really didn't matter who it was, but we were using him as an example. Anthony Taglieri just grabbed himself a new Leafs Convo hoodie. Said he loves these live shows that we do, and we appreciate that very much there, my friend. Mike.
K-Dog in the chat was saying, when will we see Robertson back? Well, Robertson was back yesterday. He played in the Marlies game and scored a goal. So he's back healthy. He had an oblique injury. So, I mean, he's going to play as long as he can in the AHL, because I think the OHL is still getting started very soon. And once that happens, I don't know whether OHL players under the age of 20 can legally play in the American Hockey League. So that's something. He may end up being on the taxi squad, so they don't have to send him back to Peterborough. But he's available, and I do think eventually they're going to go back to Robertson playing a role. But the depth at forward is adequate. I understand the reason why Dubas wants to add a forward, because you've got an older Spezza, an older Thornton, an older Simmons, and you want quality depth there. And if one of those guys drops, then you have to have somebody to fill in. And right now they would think it's either somebody inexperienced or somebody who doesn't contribute as much offensively. But I think there are other areas on this team that need to be addressed a lot more than forward.
One thing that needs to be addressed, and I don't know how you do it, is the weak power play. The penalty kill is one thing. The power play, though, like for a team with this much firepower and having Marner, Matthews, Tavares, Riley, Nylander out there, in a 5-on-4 or a 5-on-3, to go as long as it has as a team without even a goal when having that opportunity it's concerning. Even though the team is doing well, this could take the team to the next level. And remember, the whole process at this point is to prepare for the playoffs.
Right.
And when you're in the playoffs and you get a man advantage, you better put that effing puck in the net, because those chances are few and far between, and you'll be kicking yourself when you didn't bury those opportunities. Because, man, that's a tight kind of game in the postseason. What can this team do about the power play, Mike? Scrap it and put new players out there?
Well, I mean, remember early in the year, they were operating at almost a 40% clip, and that was when Matthews was a trigger man doing the one-timers and with that ridiculous wrist shot, which seems to be coming back now, thankfully, from that wrist injury. But you see that teams have adjusted their tactics. The Leafs don't have a problem gaining the blue line, but once they dish to one of the guys on the wings, either Matthews or Marner, they immediately get pressured by the forward on the penalty kill, and that forces Marner or Matthews into a decision too early. And then once they either try to get it back to Riley or try to get it behind the net, everything is off kilter. They just seem out of sync.
But it's going on and on and on and on.
Going on and on. And the one thing that that is, and this isn't an attack against Morgan Riley, but teams do not respect Morgan Riley at the point, in the sense that his shot is not very good. He's a great distributor of the puck. He's a really good passer. He's a good offensive player, but he doesn't have a big shot. And teams sit back and basically say, go ahead, we dare you to shoot it. And he's always distributing, and they just don't respect that threat at the point. Now, they don't have anybody on the roster that they could put at the point that has his distributing ability, that has a better shot. So they're pretty much stuck with Riley, and that's not a bad situation to have, but I think that's one factor. I think what they need is Matthews to shoot more. Then basically and the thing is, teams are trying to block that off. So they've put Simmons in front of the net. They put Tavares in front of that. Now Nylander's on the top power play. They keep playing around with it. And, Simmons can provide that net front presence, as Sean in the chat is saying.
But he's off. He's been off since he's returned.
Yes, they said it last night. He doesn't have any confidence yet with his wrist, and
maybe that helps him grow confidence. Just plant him in front of the net and say, if you get hit, you get hit. If you don't, there's a rebound. Pop it in, and you know how it is.
It's better.
One bloody goal can set a guy off.
It's better that the power play is struggling in late March and early April than in the middle of May. So they've got time to get it in gear. But the thing is, and I said to you before we started recording, the one thing that Babcock said, which I thought was ridiculous, was that the power play was their intimidation. Well, that's ridiculous. But to this point, last night, Paul Maurice took the goaltender, did the review for goaltender interference and took the risk because I think in part because he knew the Leafs power play was struggling. He says, okay, I'll roll the dice on the Hyman thing because I think maybe they'll overturn it. But if the worst case happens and they allow the goal and it's a power play, the Leafs power play is 0-19. So I'm willing to take the risk. If their power play was operating at 40% like it was in the season, they would have just let that goal go because they didn't have another power play to go up 3-0.
Yeah. They're doing the same thing over and over again, and they're playing the same 6 teams. There's right now, it doesn't seem like there's a lot of opportunity to break out of this malaise and these struggles because the special teams on the other from the other organizations know what to expect, know what to do. They know Riley doesn't have a big shot. They're cutting off lanes, getting in the faces of some of these guys who are pretty dangerous on the wings. And Bob's your uncle. That's the way she's going right now. So the Leafs are going to have to score 5-on-5, which they can do. It's just what kind of modifications, what kind of a mix-up can you add to this group and this collective to get it prepared for the playoffs? Because once the curtain rises on the border and these teams go at it, and there's limited time to make hay, that power play is going to have to be a big part of the team's success. There's no way the Leafs can go through 4 rounds and be, the Leafs are into the Stanley Cup final for the first time since 1967, and they haven't scored a power play goal since game 2 of the first round. It's just not going to be there. Hey, shout out to Sean, don't call me Nick Robertson, in the comments, just owning it right now. Dyslexic is with us. Corey Parrish, OG. I'm loving it. K-Dog's right in the mix. Massive Actus from Detroit doing his thing. Tony Bazzelli. Guys, we appreciate all of this support and being a part of this. This is amazing. Tell your friends about the Leafs Convo podcast. The more subscribers we have, the more support we get from YouTube. And the better our videos do, the more incentive Mike and I have to get off our asses and complete more of them. One more hockey point, Mike. We'll talk baseball, and then you can get ready for your Jays-Yankees.
Yeah. Oh, I was just gonna say. Last night I experimented with what's called Twitter Spaces, which was basically like an online chat, and there was like very few people out there because I don't think I promoted it enough. But it's something like during the playoffs and after games. If I'm sure we're gonna do post game convos for the playoffs. But it's something out there if you're gonna do like sort of a call in type of thing that we might experiment with. Last night I just went on for like 5 minutes and gave my thoughts on the game, which obviously I just gave my thoughts now. But it's an interesting thing. But yeah.
So you do it all there, and then you come in and either you're rehearsing there, and this is the real thing. Or
I don't think anybody was listening. I didn't promote it enough. It was like there was nobody in there, but hey, I was talking to myself. I do that a lot.
Hey, thanks for thinking of us. So, the Blue Jays will nip at the Yankees' heels in the AL East this season. I know you liken the Jays to the Buffalo Sabres.
No.
And I know you picked the Yankees to win the World Series in 92 and 93.
No, yeah.
And you had them to win the division in 15.
Yeah,
We know the Yankees are the hallowed greatest organization in sports. We get it. And most people are picking them to win the AL East again. Injuries notwithstanding, the Jays got into playoffs last year and they look pretty good. You got to think the Yankees can't go into series against the Blue Jays believing they're just going to wipe the floor with them. The Jays have made some really good additions, and they're going to be a force to be reckoned with.
Okay. Putting my unbiased hat on when it comes to the Blue Jays.
Sure, try.
No, I love their lineup. I really do. I mean, Biggio and Bichette and Simeon and Guerrero Jr. And then they add Springer. Now Springer's out.
Yeah.
So that's a loss. 1 through 9, their lineup is really good. So I think offensively, they're going to be maybe on par with the Yankees. Depending on how the young guys continue. I think Guerrero's going to have a big year. Simeon was a great signing. It's the pitching. It really is the pitching. I mean, I think they were depending on Nate Pearson to be part of their starting rotation, and he had 1 inning in spring training and then re-aggravated his groin, and now he probably is going to be. I would think even if he is 100% healthy now, it's going to take probably a month to build up his arm. I really, Robbie Ray, I guess slipped at home or something like that. I mean, the rotation is, I didn't think it was good with them. And now without them, Ross Stripling, I mean, the rotation is not good. Ryu is a good pitcher. I like him, but there's not enough there. I mean, I think Tampa Bay, even after losing Charlie Morton and Blake Snell, has a better rotation than the Blue Jays. Now, not to say the Yankees don't have their questions, because they've got 2 pitchers in their starting 5 that haven't pitched more than 5 innings in the last 2 years, in Kluber and Teo. But they have Severino probably coming back in July, and they have Devi Garcia, their top prospect, who pitched last year, pitching probably in AAA when AAA starts. So the Yankees have options. The Blue Jays, I don't know what their options are. Who's a TJ Zook? I mean, where are they going for these pitchers? And I don't think their bullpen. I mean, they lose Kirby Yates for the year to Tommy John, so their bullpen isn't exactly ridiculously strong either. So, and Chris in the chat, you saying Ryu is better than Cole shows that you are an idiot, because that's ridiculous.
All right.
The only pitcher in Major League Baseball right now who's better than Garrett Cole.
Chris is not an idiot. I think Mike's jacked up for his Yankees. He loves his Yankees just as much as his Leafs.
Jacob deGrom. Jacob deGrom is the best pitcher in baseball. But Ryu, don't get me wrong, Ryu's a good pitcher. He's just not as good as Garrett Cole. So you're wrong. Sorry.
Jonathan Horton. Oh my God, guys, never seen you problems for so long. Actually, no, my apologies. Oh my God, guys, never seen live. This is awesome. Oh, I'm glad you think it's awesome, because we look like Stadler and Waldorf.
Well, a younger version.
I don't think any of our listeners know who they are.
Oh, sure they do. Come on, the Muppets are still popular.
They are.
But
the Jays are going to contend for some sort of playoff position.
Oh,
they're going to bash the shit out of a lot of the opposition and destroy guys, and then we'll see how it works in terms of acquisitions and guys getting healthy.
I'm not saying that you're wrong. I think but Sean is right. You can't out hit your problems for a long time. I mean, if you generate offense, you're going to win a lot of 7-5 games, or 8-6 games. But at a certain point, you need to get pitching. Now, I don't know whether Ross Atkins is going to go out before the deadline and trade for pitching. They're probably going to need to do that.
But Mike, do you think the way the roster is being constructed is because now is the time? Now they think now is the time to win a World Series. They've been struggling and then rebuilding for this moment. It's all part of the process. You don't sign George Springer for as long as you have and deal with the injury that he's unfortunately having to go through right now, thinking that, oh shit, we screwed it because 2021 we're not going to win. This is a process.
You signed Springer because you have all of your young hitters controllable in terms of price. Guerrero,
It's
Biggio.
a process, man. Like,
Yeah, no, but I mean, but money wise, like if they were coming up for free agency, they never would have signed Springer. But because they're under control for 4 or 5 years, they can sign Springer and keep their prices in order. Now, what they have to do is they have to either develop or go out and get pitching, and that's going to be their issue. If they can get themselves another starter and Pearson comes back, then I think that they'll be in the wild card race. But if their pitching is a big issue, then I think that they could still be on the outside looking in, even though they have one of the best offenses in baseball.
Wouldn't that be something? But there's always another season to come, and like you said, a lot of these guys are controllable. They're very young. The idea is to have them grow as a group and get to the point where the team has been so darn successful that while you may lose 1 or 2 pieces of the overall puzzle, the core stays together, and then you add more talent to a base that is very attractive to be a part of.
It is a process, and I'm just talking about this year. I mean, we know that with the core that they have, with the offensive core that they have, if they add 1 or 2 quality starting pitchers, and I'm not even talking about like aces, I'm talking about guys who can eat innings and who can give you, 150, 160 innings, keep your ERA under 4, keep you in games, then they will be a force to be reckoned with. But that's, getting those guys is always difficult, and it's probably going to take them a couple years to really assemble a rotation that will allow them to compete with the Yankees. Because the Yankees, I mean, unless health strikes, and that has done the last few years with Judge and with Stanton, they're going to have just as incredible of an offense as the Blue Jays are.
Well, the Yankees did have some issues with injuries last year, but guys out of nowhere came up, looking to prove something, and they held the fort down. Potentially the Jays could see the same thing with personnel from their organization. We've got to get out of here, Mike. The Leafs Jets on Friday, as long as they continue to play the way they did yesterday, and start to pick away at this power play slump and keep healthy, then I'm going to be okay with it. I'm just wanting to see progression and this ascension towards the playoffs, and ultimately have a group that is ready to go, ready to win that first round, and from there bust the rest of it apart. That's what I'm hoping to see. Time will tell, but the teams have been in a lot worse positions at this point of a season than it is right now. So there is reason for hope, and there's reason for optimism.
I agree. I think that we're going to see in the next 11 days what little tinkering maneuvers Kyle Dubas does, and I think he's not going to make any great changes, but something that might just give them a little more towards that ability to win in the playoffs when it counts.
Absolutely. Guys, don't forget to like this post, subscribe to the Leafs Convo. It helps us in so many ways. Plus, you guys can keep tabs on what we are up to. Get after Mike's content at hockeybuzz.com. I'm Norman Oakridge Ford. Shoot me a like on that page too. We're all helping each other out, and at the end of the day, we're really appreciative of everything you guys do for us. So let's get on with it. For Mike, I'm Norm. We're up.